like anyone, obviously, I enjoy test driving and reviewing Lamborghinis and McLarens. Although it's been a long time since I last have. Anyhow, that's beside the point. Because I can't say I don't care about 600 horsepower and these super exotic supercars and hypercars. Because obviously they can be fun, 600 plus horsepower, merging onto the highway, blowing by everyone, that's all fine and dandy. But ultimately, they are useless shows of spending a lot of money, if mostly because you can never fully exploit and experience these hypercars. That is, unless you're on a track, and even if you were on a track, many of them have so much power. I mean, how do you tame 710 horsepower legs, even on a track that is technical and tight? You can't really do that. I like those cars, but definitely they don't light a fire under my ass. I said it. No, the type of cars that really get this grin going, and for days on, weeks on end, if I'm lucky, are cars that have been tuned with performance aspirations. And unlike these supercars, hypercars, well, most of them are very affordable, attainable, and easy to drive. I'm trying not to say fun to drive, but I guess it's inevitable. Cars that are truly fun to drive speak to me. Now, obviously, if I tell you Volkswagen Golf GTI, yes, it's a great car. If we look back a few years, Ford Focus ST, or now Subaru WRX, and another car that has a lot in common with this one, the Mazda MX-5. These are, well, that is and this is sub 200 horsepower cars. But it doesn't matter because of what they deliver to the driver by being what they are. I'm not even sure I make sense trying to listen to my words, but what I'm saying is that these cars can be exploited, can be experienced to the fullest, or nearly, even on our city streets, in the real world, in other words. This one is a latest addition to these hot compact cars, remove hatch, based on a recent review that I just did. This is a 2021 Toyota Corolla SE Apex. It's an option package on the Corolla SE, and it is worth its weight in gold. Look, what I'm trying to say is that this car is so much better than all of you think. Unless you've driven one, or you understand what I was trying to say about like the MX-5 and the GTI. Because this one is seriously one of the greats. It's not flawless, obviously, but it's damn near close. And if anything, it's extremely affordable, thus, and fun to drive, thus impossible to regret. And just before we do the walk around and take it for a spin where it's really important, or where it really counts, this car, this exact Corolla Apex, is even more exclusive than any Lamborghini or any McLaren. Only 170 of these will be available for sale, this exact model. There will be something like 6,300 total available in North America, but in Canada and the US, only 170 of these will be available to buy, to purchase. Anyhow, when I get excited, I go on, so I'm gonna cut myself off now. Let's go. Okay, let's jump into pricing right now. Base price in Canada for the Corolla 2021, $19,350 because 6-speed manual, that's right. In the US, base car is $20,025 because automatic. In Canada, the SE with the 6-speed manual starts at $22,950. If you want an SE 6-speed manual in the US, $23,175. That doesn't happen very often, but here we are. There's a bunch of stuff obviously included with the car, with the base. You get Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, heated front seats, keyless entry and start, and a whole bunch of other stuff. What's important, obviously, is the Apex package, which in Canada is $4,850 above the SE trim. It includes power sunroof, XM satellite radio, wireless charging, these fantastic 18-inch wheels with 225 40 profile 18-inch performance summer tires, this full body kit. Now make sure you take it in as we walk around. The bronze lines, I don't know if you can actually see them. Here, I'll get closer. There they are. I have absolutely nothing to say against this aero kit. It's subtle, yet just visible enough. Obviously the contrast with the color is just absolutely fantastic. And well, the good bits are the sport exhaust. You can see here the 3.5-inch tailpipe sticking out right there, indeed, as well as sports tuned stabilizers and coil springs. Now as we come around, there's one important thing too with this sport tuned suspension. The car is actually 15.2 millimeters lower than the regular Corolla, so that's 0.6 inches. Steering is also tuned, and there's a few other things. But look, I think this Corolla Apex looks fantastic in every possible respect. Just do, I don't know really if it's useful, but just in case, massive trunk. This is possibly one of the reasons why Toyota decided to make an Apex out of the sedan and not the hatchback, because the hatchback has no trunk and no back seats. And well, in the US, hatchbacks still don't sell. So speaking of back seat, it is enormous. That's my driving position. Look at the amount of legroom. It's enormous. It's also not entirely important, but so here we go. Nice touches. I mean, I don't know about the light colored material, but it's a nice contrast with everything else. Fit finish is very, very nice. Very up to $27,440 standards. The seats are kind of strange in a sense, because the bolstering is actually really, really deep. I mean, that's halfway through the palm of my hand. I don't have the biggest hands, but still, the material looks okay-ish, but they're actually quite comfortable and supportive. So here it is, my friends. This is what makes this Apex so rare. 50 of these will be available in Canada, while 120 will be available in the US. 170 if I'm doing the math correct. There isn't much special going on here with the gauges, although look, legible, clear, straight, precise. I mean, it's all here. You don't need anything more than that. This is the 8-inch screen, which comes with the SE. The standard one is a 7-inch, but what I do love, as always, is actual physical buttons on each side. So instead of going through home and various other menus on screen, you can just tap right to where you want to go. Love that. HVAC, very simple. And here's one control, intelligent manual transmission, which is your rev match option, which if you have any self-respect, you won't use. 3 pedals, just in case you thought that the shifter was fake. This is maybe another unfortunate thing, because obviously the Corolla is based on the new global platform, so there's no handbrake anymore. Finally, I guess, visibility is really, really good. Toyota's figured that out with these wonderful little openings there, which is perfect when you're heading for the Apex, although you should be looking at the next corner. But anyway, that's great. The driving position is good, and enough of that. Let's go for a drive. So yes, a manual transmission. I guess I'll just jump right into that. As far as I can tell from driving the Corolla now for the last couple of days, nothing has changed from the way the SE is set up, or the regular manual transmission is tuned, I guess, in the car. So the throws are not very long, but not very short, and it doesn't snick into gear. Nothing has changed really as far as that's concerned. The clutch pedal is very soft, very relaxed. The pickup point is reasonably high, but it's not something you can't get used to. If there is one thing though that I'm having a little bit of a hard time, you have to pay attention to it as I shift, is the rev hang. There's a fair amount of rev hang, and I'm having a little bit of a hard time with that, if mostly because, well, my personal Mark 7.5 Golf has a manual transmission, and it doesn't have as much rev hang as when you clutch in as you release the throttle and you're rolling. The engine revs stay high typically because of a heavy flywheel. That makes shifts a little bit smoother, and it also has something to do with emissions. But basically it's manual, and I love it, and it's perfect. I mentioned the IMT. The only reason why anyone would use the IMT, and what you just heard right there, is my little toe, right foot trying to tap the go pedal to rev match, but the pedals are fairly distant apart. So heel toe can be done. You still got to get, you have to concentrate on what you're doing. It can be done again. But if you want to look like a hero every time and not some clown or amateur, you can always just press the button. What else can I say? I said the car is almost perfect. And honestly, the only thing that doesn't make it perfect is the rev hang and the pedal spacing. Maybe some aftermarket pedals could have been a nice touch from Toyota. But one thing that isn't an issue is the naturally aspirated 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. This is what I mean about, like, if you understand what I meant to say, why I referred to the MX-5. Because despite having only 169 horsepower and only 152 pound-feet of torque, the 2-liter engine is still loads of fun to push. And that's the idea. I'm on the floor, and, well, traffic starts to catch up because obviously people... Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that hitting the floor often with little or no fear of getting pulled over or crashing is a reward unto itself. This car will get you up to speed. It might take a little bit longer than a GTI, but it's also like $8,000 less than a GTI. But the engine is fine. I mean, if I have to complain again a little bit, throttle response is not exactly as immediate as I would like it to be. It's a little bit dull on initial throttle inputs. But the thing is that once you're going, you're going. I wish if this damn pandemic could have been over by now, and with Toyota's blessing, I would have tracked this car. Because the way the chassis is tuned just puts I said it, like a dumb grin on my face, because it feels like my 30-year-old Jetta with its coilover suspension, the fact that it's lowered. It's got a jounce and a bounce to it when the surface isn't perfect. It's just absolutely fantastic. An Audi A5 is holding me up right now. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this thing handles beautifully. Now, steering has been tuned, I believe I mentioned it, so it feels a little bit sharper and quicker to load up. I mean, it feels nice, and unless I'm completely off, and it probably has more to do with the Dunlop tires, I feel like there's something going on up ahead. Nah, not to you, Audi A5. Oh, and the sport exhaust is just so much fun. Okay, so it's not fast at all, but still, it's so much fun. Right, the handling. The car, oops, I screwed up. I know what I'm doing. I'm getting worked up over a Corolla Apex. I'm having so much fun. My palms are sweating. Right, handling. The car feels so good. It stays reliably and honestly flat when you're cornering it. You can feel the dampers compressing. You can feel the chassis and the structure working for you. I mean, I've not gone completely out of my mind and overboard, but I mean, I can't really notice any real understeer. There's nothing really wrong going on. It's just so much fun. Now, as I said, if I could track this car, I might discover that the brakes are slightly inadequate for what this car could potentially do on a lapping event. See that? Oh, but it's so well dampened overall still. Oh, I'm getting so excited over this car. Oh, so we're about to heel toe. If you reach high enough up on the pedal, you'll get it. You'll get the heel toe going. All right, so here we go. One of my favorite off ramps. It's kind of long and it's an increasing radius. The car stays flat. It leans a little bit, but just enough to tell you that it's happening, that it's gripping. And I'm look a little bit more steering input, more, and it responds nicely. Oh, geez, that's all you really need. That is all you really need. 169 horsepower, good dampers, good coil spring, stiffer sway bars, and that's a manual transmission. There's so little about this car, but so much to say because it'll make you feel something, as a Miata will, as a GTI can. For $27,440. And if you really want more power, I'm sure somebody has a supercharger for this 2-liter, and then you'll be smoking GTIs in your Corolla. Yeah, I love this Corolla.